Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to take a look at CannaVerde Pharma's pitch deck review with Katrina Gogowski, angel investor and attorney. Katrina, thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate you and everybody else putting up with the noise. There was a drunk driver who drove into the attorney's office. They're still doing some construction work. We're going to try to get through it together. I appreciate your patience. So we're going to see if CannaVerde meets our 7 tips to a successful investment deck. Will they, number 1, identify the business plan goals? Number 2, are they going to know their audience? Number 3, will they understand the market? 4, will they identify needs and roadblocks? 5, do they know what sets the business apart? Number 6, will they introduce the team and products? And number 7, create a summary with a call to action. Let's dive into CannaVerde Pharma. Fully licensed producer serving the Latin American medical cannabis market. Here's their strategic vision for Latin America. Their vision is to become a leading medical cannabis company in Colombia through Latin America. The consumer products and wellness. They're partnered with a major CPG manufacturer to penetrate the US dollar or $8.5 billion US dollar market in Colombia.
Okay.
So it looks like they're jumping off point for like Mexico and Panama, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Colombia. Looking good. Looking at the demand for medical cannabis, chronic pain at 52.5%, with medical cannabis legal in Colombia, Chile, Peru, Uruguay, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina. That's 75% of the population in Latin America.
Total addressable market. Yay.
So looking at their regulatory roadmap in Colombia, they've applied for 3 licenses. They've received some. They've got some scientific quota after providing some security controls. Step 4 is for registration of genetics and then testing and then receiving high THC quotas. And then the final 7th step is an evaluation from the agronomical evaluation process. So it looks like they kind of laid everything out there. Not too bad.
That's good because that identifies the possible hurdles, Josh. Good on them.
Right. So a little bit about them. They're a Canadian domiciled, low-cost, high-quality producer of medical cannabis extracts with operations in Colombia through its wholly owned subsidiary called Green Health Colombia. They've got some locations at 7 licensed hectares with an additional 100 that they can add to a strong technical workforce. They've got a pretty good growing potential, 51,000 square feet, an attractive regulatory environment, and optimum growing conditions with warm weather, 12 hours of daylight a year. 6 cultivations per year. That's pretty nice. With an access to a large market, that's 640 million people throughout Latin America.
This is what we keep saying about Colombia.
Yeah, and got to raise a question, why aren't more Canadian companies down there? In fact, why are they pulling out? So I know that the Canadian government wanted to make it more difficult to give more incentive and benefit for domestic producers, but in the long run, that's not going to work. So they're going to have to ease those import rules to allow for Canadian-owned Colombian producers to be able to import that cheaper, probably better cannabis. So I think in the long run, they're fooling themselves. So Green Health Colombia, looking at some pictures here from operations that they can scale to 415,000 square feet of cultivation to yield 6.6 million grams of cannabis oil.
Okay.
So they're going to need a lot more flour to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Listening on some of the management team, they got the CEO, chief medical officer. Interesting to see. Good to know that they got a CFO. I hope so.
Yeah, these are folks with good credentials. I like to see that.
Yes.
MDs, PhDs, that's good.
Yeah, chief science officer, all of that. They've got an advisory board as well with some other doctors, industrial engineers, and even an anesthesiologist with chronic pain management. Research and development, that's obviously important. You should probably do that in Puerto Rico, but wherever they're doing it, hopefully they're coming up with some good stuff. So they've got a medical cannabis cluster in Santander. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. There's some grammar people out there. They don't like the way I speak sometimes. I apologize to no one though. Co-development and sales agreement. Salud Dar, it's a provider of health services and alternative medicine. And so they partnered with them to develop some formulas containing CBD and THC for pharmacies throughout Colombia and for research and development of new products that can be prescribed by doctors. They've co-developed with JGB. I think they're pretty big in Latin America to integrate CBD and develop new products.
I like that. I like that. Partnering with an existing operation will speed it up and reduce risk. So good on them.
They've also got a co-development agreement with Promi. I haven't heard of them, but they're a packaged good company with a focus on manufacture and marketing of cosmetic products and toiletries. And they're also going to integrate CBD and develop new product lines containing CBD. They've got a distribution agreement with some hotels and resorts.
We're seeing a lot of that tying CBD usage or trial with a vacation. So good on them for making that partnership.
Yeah, and wellness as well. Looking at some flower and oil sales strategies, they got a go-to-market plan by establishing joint venture agreements, partnering with doctors and distribution companies, pharmacies, and supply agreements in Latin America, Canadian, and European importers. So they got some orders as much as $3.2 million in the third and fourth quarter for 500 kilograms of distillate.
I like that they have orders. I don't like that the bulk of their orders are LOIs, but at least they have one definitive order. That's good.
Definitive order is good. I cannot stand letters of intent or memorandums of understanding. They mean absolutely nothing to me and probably most investors. So don't care. Not at this point, not at this time. Maybe circa 2018, people cared about that. Not anymore.
Yeah, it's not enough anymore.
The capital structure, they're listing number of shares outstanding, the valuation at 7.2 million Canadian. Seems pretty low, actually. They've got some warrants and debentures and outstanding equity shares.
I like this. Their valuation is only 7 million. That's a realistic valuation, Josh. Good on them for having viable numbers.
And they've actually got a capital raise. Terms and conditions, they're seeking 5 million and a maximum of 10 with a convertible unsecured 2-year debenture. 5.2 million has been invested to date with a minimum investment of $5,000. Use of proceeds are going to go to complete a evaluation with the Colombian Agricultural Institute. They want to develop proprietary medical products for the Latin American market, assist doctors and clinics, construct greenhouses, complete a GMP compliant extraction facility. They need joint venture agreements to produce CBD wellness products, and then sales and marketing and operation expense.
Good on them. This is what we like to see. Actual terms and how they're going to use the money. Good on them.
Yeah, this is a great slide. We normally don't see this from somebody like this. So CannaVerde Pharma, that is it. So bringing in our 7 tips with successful investment deck. Number 1, did they identify the business plan goals?
I think they did. And I think they did a better than average job doing that. So yeah, full point.
Do they know their investor audience?
Yes, they do. They use the right words, but more importantly, they disclosed the use of funds and the capital raise, dollar amounts and valuation. They did a very good job on that. So yes, full point for know your audience.
What about understanding the market?
This is where this deck starts to falter. They did talk about the total addressable market, my personal most hated slide ever. They didn't provide a lot of breakdown related to that. So understanding the market needs to be more than, we have 640 million potential customers. That doesn't mean you understand the market. So I can't give them a point for number 3.
Not to get ahead of myself, but it kind of goes in tandem with number 5, which is knowing what sets the business apart. If you don't let the audience and investor audience know that you understand the market and what sets the business apart, it's going to show. So why are you in Colombia? What makes you better? There's a lot of MSOs out there and you didn't say anything.
Yeah, that sort of bleeds into roadblocks and things like that. They didn't talk about competition. They did disclose the regulatory risks, which is good. We don't see that often, but not a single word of competition. And most importantly, in October of 2020, when this pitch deck was authored, a lot of Canadian companies were leaving Colombia, and there's no explanation of why they stayed, why they entered, why they are continuing their um, uh, South American venture when everybody else seems to be pulling out, Josh. And so they don't get they don't get a point for number 4 for needs and roadblocks at all.
What about what sets the business apart? Did they get into the secret sauce at all?
They did talk about their vertical licensing strategy, but to me, that's not a secret sauce. They did talk about partnering, and that is wonderful. I like seeing partnering. Why reinvent the wheel for cosmetics when somebody else has already done it better than you? But they did not really identify competition here in the failure to address the Canadian Big Five leaving Latin America really is a failure there for both 3, 4, and 5 on our leaf, Josh.
Introducing the team and products. They introduced the team, but I don't think I saw any single product at all. Did I miss something?
I did not see a single product outside of the word oil. They didn't tell me, are they doing tinctures? They didn't tell me vape pens. They didn't tell me chocolates. What are they going to do with this oil? Maybe they are a white label company, which is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that, but they didn't tell me that. So they didn't really identify their product, but they did an excellent job on their team, including their advisors. So I'm going to give them a half a point there, Josh.
Fair enough. What about creating a summary with the call to action?
They really excelled at this element of a successful pitch deck. They talked about valuation. They talked about the terms with the convertible note. They talked about price per share. They identified the number of outstanding shares, the diluted shares. They did a very good job there with their call to action and combining it with use of proceeds. And most importantly, their goal of getting a GMP certified lab. Excellent job on call to action.
So 3.5 out of 7, that's a 50%. So although not the highest score, it's definitely not the worst deck. So there's a couple of things that they could change out. They could maybe improve their understanding of the market a little bit better. Definitely put in some kind of needs and roadblocks. You know, if you're having issues in Canada importing from Colombia, you should probably put that in there. If you foresee issues with the FDA, put that in there. Investors want to know. And then secret sauce. Why are you different? There's so many MSOs out there that if somebody wants to know, is it the management team? Is it the products? You didn't put any products on there. There's just a few things that could tighten this deck down to make them seem, or just to showcase why they're that much better than, you know, a complete dumpster fire like MedMen. If you don't want to distinguish yourself from MedMen, then don't. But I think with a slight change to, you know, showcasing that you do understand the market, that you have some roadblocks you have to get through, that you have thought about these things, and you do know that there's some hurdles that you will confidently get over, that you are have secret sauce, and you do know that it sets you apart. Those are all the things that'll get you to 100% confidence for an investor, and hopefully drive your business.
Agreed. I think it's minor tweaks. Just talk about, you know, this is why we're going to succeed in Latin America where others have not, and a description of their products. I think they would have had a much higher score with just those 2 little tweaks, Josh.
Yeah, it could be the fact that the Buffalo Bills lost. Could be a part of that reason that there's only a 50% score.
Maybe I'm just grumpy today. Go Bills.
Yeah. So they'll have to wait till next year if we redo it and the Bills do have a better season. All right. With that, I'm going to thank my guest, Katrina Gogowski, angel investor and attorney. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.